Now, sometimes I cannot understand why people refuse to accept why physical matter will fall. Now, everything you see here, silver dragonfly, 120-year-old trade stimulator, coin operated by the way, everything here was made from the earth, therefore it came from the earth. There is no phenomenon going on here. This little wooden toy that I found in the ground outside and saved, cleaned up a little, is comprised of physical matter having presence, substance, form, and physicality of itself. Now, the only thing that can disturb that object is something that possesses presence, substance, form, and physical matter to produce or generate force or power or energy. Now, when you come and someone comes and disturbs this object from a natural state of rest, they must exert force. If you reach down with your hand and pick it up, that is physical matter producing or generating force. Okay? And then you pick it up. You pick it up and support it with force in your hand, and it stays in your hand. Now, when you release or withdraw that force and support, that object will return to the earth because this object of physical matter, possessing presence and substance, is heavier or denser than its surrounding air. So, this object being heavier or denser than its surrounding air, once the support of this table or your hand holding it is withdrawn, it will fall back to the earth on the floor until it reaches something that can support it. Everything we have came from the earth and is comprised of physical matter, presence, substance, form, and physicality. If anything is going to be something, it must possess presence, substance, form, and physicality there, or it cannot interact with anything else. It can't move or do anything. The present substance, form, and physicality of this stick allows the stick to influence another object or a cameo brooch. Now, gravity being some outside force, power, or thing swooping in from some vector to pull, hold, or curve this brooch down is ridiculous because they will admit, however, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is itself in any fundamental way. That's because gravity itself hasn't one iota of presence, substance, form, or physicality that they can directly detect, identify, isolate, or harness. That's why they don't know what it is, because there's nothing to identify, detect, or isolate. Once isolated, you can study gravity itself. Not what gravity does. People bringing up Cavendish and all this nonsense. These are highly controlled experiments that nobody can do because they have to be highly controlled. We can't repeat it because some wind blew in the door or some other form of nonsense they used to explain away why it didn't work. There is no controlled environment going on right here for gravity to work. Wouldn't you say gravity just worked? This is not a controlled experiment. So why can't we directly detect, identify, isolate, study, and harness gravity itself? I tell you now, it is because there is no gravity itself, interacting, engaging, or engulfing anything of physical matter to pull, hold, or curve it down. It doesn't exist. They will never know what gravity is itself because they can't directly detect, identify, or isolate it. And they will never harness it like they do in their Hollywood movies aboard a spaceship and they're floating around and someone says, flip the anti-gravity switch, and they do, and then they all fall down and can walk around and blah, 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 so on, and therefore, and thereon, and just nonsense. Okay? Everything that comes from the earth, everything we have came from the earth in one way or another. Okay? Cast iron. Iron comes from the earth. Tin comes from the earth. Antique glass from the earth. Wood from the earth. Cloth, linen, whatever, what have you. Silver. All comes from the earth and is at a natural state of rest on the earth. That is not a phenomenon. It is not a phenomenon for you to come and stroll by and exert force to pick something up. Okay, you are comprised of physical matter, therefore you can interact with other physical matter. Gravity is not a thing because it doesn't have physicality. It has no presence of itself, no substance of itself, no form of itself. That's why in my videos, when I show you Eric Verland admitting there's nothing going on in between the moon and the earth, he's admitting that gravity is an assumption, supposition. The furthest some of you will go in entertaining the idea that gravity is non-existent will be to say, well, how do you replace gravity? Okay, that's the furthest or closest you'll come to understanding anything. And how can I replace gravity when I just proved that there is no outside force, power, or vector or anything interacting with an object when it falls? There is no outside force, power, or thing moving in from any vector, outside or direction vector, to pull, hold, or curve this down. Therefore, why would you ask me to replace it when we know for a fact that there is nothing from an outside area moving in to engage, engulf, or interact with this toy to make it fall? We know if you have an IQ over 90, you can understand why things fall. That is physical matter that is comprised of presence and substance that is heavier or denser than the surrounding air. If I move this toy over here, it would fall because the air itself cannot support it. It'll fall until it meets something that can support it on the earth from whence it came. Everything came from the earth and will return to the earth when not supported. Okay? It is my opinion that all physical matter is under our feet. A tree that grows over our head is still under our feet. Physical matter is on the ground. The earth is the stage of all physical matter. I believe everything in the sky is comprised of electricity, magnetism, different gases, water vapor, maybe some plasma. I don't believe I believe that physical matter can travel through the air, of course. But it must come from a physical place. Like, the firmament is probably physical, but that derives from the earth. Its foundations are in the earth. But I don't hold to that. Okay, that's what I sometimes think or what I favor. I believe everything physical is from and on the earth. But you have to realize that gravity has been a 500-year-old theory, that you have been brainwashed to place more emphasis on things falling down than was actually required. They have done this to deceive you. You are too busy on wild goose chases pursuing endless theory that can never be verified, which takes you in the opposite direction of the truth. That's why our technology is stunted. We don't even know where we live. Truly. Okay, they have dumbed us down to believe in a force, power, or thing that keeps us on the earth when there is no presence, form, substance, or physicality of anything holding, pulling, or curving us down. None whatsoever. One moment, please. Now, matter on the earth is at a natural state of rest. Boy, there's a lot of dust when you turn on a bright light. But matter is at a natural state of rest on the earth It only will fall down if someone exerts force to disturb it, like doing that. That matter will fall down because it's heavier or denser than the surrounding air. The air cannot support it. That's why helium will rise, because it's lighter than air. Now, everything that's physical matter is comprised of its components of present substance and form of whatever it is made of. Therefore, it is a thing. And we know, or you can realize, that force, power, or energy cannot exist on its own accord, just floating or whizzing around somewhere. It must be produced or generated by physical matter. Force, power, and energy are byproducts of physical matter. Without physical matter, there can be no force, power, or energy produced or generated. Now, when something cannot be detected, identified, isolated, you detect, identify, you isolate, then you study it, then you harness it, like we did with electricity, current of electricity, and field of magnetism. We have harnessed both of them because they are real. Both possess present substance and form of themselves to directly detect, identify, isolate, study, and harness. This is why they don't know what gravity is itself in any fundamental way. There's nothing for them to detect, identify, isolate, study, or harness. Cavendish and things falling down are alleged effects or results of gravity. It is not gravity itself. It is not current, field, wave, beam, ray, particle, graviton, or whatever of gravity itself. I address gravity itself, not what it does, not what you think it did, not what you believe it'll do, but gravity itself. They don't know what it is itself in any fundamental way, because there is nothing there for them to detect, identify, isolate. If something interacts with something physical, it must be physical itself in some manner, present substance and form of itself, or it cannot interact or influence something that is physical. And gravity is a blatant falsehood inflicted on man. They have betrayed humanity, and that's where all the power is. That's why they have the power and the money, because they withhold the truth. And we are distracted with bread and circus nonsense.